All right, there we go. Just a heads up, my Wi-Fi is a little laggy today. We've been having issues with our Wi-Fi since yesterday, because we have our Wi-Fi with Spectrum, and something had happened yesterday with Spectrum. They had went out off for like an hour or two. So we've been having trouble with them since yesterday. So my Wi-Fi may be a little laggy. There's a possibility I may get kicked in and out of the meeting. Wanted to give you a heads up. That way you know, like, if I do get kicked out of the meeting, I'll try and get back in. But if I'm not able to, I will send you a message, letting you know.
Okay, okay.
Um, we'll go ahead and get started. So we're gonna go ahead and skip this slide only because it's already
Mm-hmm.
past 12 o'clock, and I want to make sure that we can get everything done. Especially because I know it's pretty late over there in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
So um, so the answer for the Disney character was Belle from Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So
recognized you. Mm-hmm.
today's agenda. So today we're gonna have our warm up, and then we're gonna talk about professional correspondence, and then we'll have our little wrap up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and then just a quick heads up before we continue. About your question last time about our other student. So I did get in contact with Engine. I did talk with them. They tried getting in contact with her and they tried emailing her and she wasn't responding. So they did send me an email and they're going to try and find another student for our mini group that could be placed in here.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to give you a heads up. They said it should take a couple of weeks, but hopefully no more than a month. So
Okay.
we'll see. But just wanted to give you a heads up that way you know.
Which is
So
a
here we have our warm up. So which
Mm-hmm.
one do you think is past tense? Would do you think it'd be the first one, I want to watch a movie, the second one, I want to watch a movie, or the third one, I watched a movie?
The last one is the tense.
Alrighty. So you are correct. The last one is past tense. I watched a movie. Would be our past tense. So great job. And sorry about the slides too. It might take a while for them to change. So here now we're gonna go over professional correspondence. So I'm hoping the slides aren't doing this throughout the whole meeting because it's gonna take a while because we have a little over 40 slides to get through. So today's learning objective. So today I will learn how to write a professional and friendly correspondence, so that I can effectively communicate in different situations. And I know that I have it when I can create a clear and appropriately structured letter, email, or message, or a professional or friendly for a professional or friendly purpose. So here we have our sentence stems. So sentence stems, you would describe a scenario when you would need to use an email to communicate. So here we have our sentence stems. Sentence stems is how you started off. I think, I disagree with blank about, this reminds me of, I would like to add, I have a connection to this because, I agree with blank about. So these are great sentence stems. These are some most common ones used when writing an email, um, or more of a professional email, especially to your teacher or professor or a boss. So, here are some email points to remember. So you always want to make sure you begin your emails or group hangout messages with a greeting. So you want to start off with hi Mr. Hi hello Mrs. Dear Mrs. You always want to make sure you start off with um a greeting. Sorry. You want to make sure you use proper grammar and avoid slang or any abbreviations. More abbreviations and slang should be used more when you're messaging like a friend or a buddy. Using them when you're writing an email to a professor, or even to your boss. Using abbreviations and slang isn't really appropriate. So you want to make sure that when it comes to writing a professional email, you want to make sure you use proper grammar, proper punctuation, all of that stuff. You want to make sure you have proper manners. You want to make sure you say please, thank you, I appreciate it. You want to be clear and direct in your responses. Say what you need to say and make sure it is expressed clearly. In an email response, read each part carefully and be sure to respond to each question or comment if the teacher makes in the original email. And then in an email closing, of course, either thank you, sincerely, take care, or etc. There are so many other closings that you could use, but those are mainly the ones that are used most often in an email closing. So how can you remember this? So this is a perfect way you can remember this is by using specs. So this is basically a letter structure. You want to make sure you have your salutation, your personal introduction, your explanation of point, call to action, your closing, and then your signature. So specs is a perfect way to remember all of this for a professional email. So how to send a professional email, an informative guide for folks of all ages. So that's what we're going to look at in the next couple of slides. So in the to section, so in this section, you will fill in the email address of whoever you're emailing. So like, for example, if you were emailing me and you were in the to section, you would put my email, and you would put my email, cn and a wholesale 0922 at gmail.com. So you always want to make sure that in the to section, you start off with the person's email or their contact. Um, Next is our subject. So the subject is basically you want to make it as clear as you can. This section is not optional at all. And always remember that this is where you do not type your entire email. A lot of people have been known to do that. They will type their whole entire email in the subject section. And it's a little annoying because sometimes you can't fit in the whole email there. And so then they'll send it and then they'll start a whole nother email and continue what they were saying within that subject line. And so then when somebody opens the email, there's so many different emails that they're going through because all of it was typed in the subject line. So the subject should just be a short and clear overview of the topic of the email that you were sending. So you just want to keep it short and precise as possible. You don't want it to be like this whole long two-sentence subject. And then the third one is, of course, your greeting. You want to begin your email with a greeting. This is typed on its own line at the beginning of the email, and it should usually include the person's name and a comma at the end of the greeting. Then you want to space it down and begin the message of your email. So here are some good examples. So, dear Mr. Teacher, hello, Miss Teacher, or hello, Mr. Teacher, good afternoon. And some bad examples would be what are my grade, what's up, no, or just no greeting at all. A lot of people have been known to do that. They won't put a greeting. They would just start typing in the box and they'll just be like, can you tell me this and can you tell me that? They'll start it off with a question rather than a greeting, and a lot of times it's very disrespectful. Like, and the person who's reading that email will take it as disrespect because it's kind of like you're having a conversation, in person. If somebody just came up to you and started asking you a question, rather than asking, "Hey, how are you doing?" or "Hello," rather than first starting off with a greeting and they just came up to you and was like, "Hey, what's my grade?" It's very disrespectful, especially when they have that kind of tone. And so when you don't include that greeting when your teacher or your boss, whoever you're sending an email to, is reading it, they think that you have that sort of tone and they see it as a disrespectful email. So you always want to make sure that you start it off with dear, hello, or good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever um, time slot you're in at the moment you're sending the email. So here we have an email that somebody is sending. So it just says dear. There is no name, so it just says dear blank. I wish to apply for the job of receptionist with your company and advertised in the Longview News Journal of 15th December 2024. As you can see from my resume, I have 5 certificates. I have just completed a level 2 in customer service. I have not had a full-time job as a receptionist yet. I have I have some experience during a 5-week work placement as part of my course. I am a lively, enthusiastic person who gets along with other people. I believe I have a lot to offer your company, and I hope you offer me an interview. There is no reason why I can't attend your interview at any time because my college course has now come to an end and I'll have a lot of spare time. I hope to hear from you soon, J Blogs. So here our question is, how should Joe have begun his letter? Um and a lot of these are great, answers, but the perfect way would have been D. You want to start off with dear madam. Um, a lot of people would say, "Oh, like if I was, a student, right, and my teacher would have created this PowerPoint, I would have thought it would have been like A. But however, we don't know the name of the teacher, so or not the teacher, but like the name of the person he's wanting to apply with. So we would just assume that the right answer here would be dear Miss Madam. Um, Man, these slides are taking forever. Here we go. Okay, so if you look at paragraph 4, you see that there are a few writing mistakes. The word there um in line 1 is incorrect. How should he have written it? So do you think it would be A, they are, B, their, D, they are, or D, theirs?
Yeah, I think the option B is correct. No, because it says like there is no reason.
Yeah, so option B would be our correct answer here. It would be there is no reason. And if you look closely at this email that he sent, there are so many other mistakes. Like he spelled college wrong. There is no D in college. Um, there are just so many other mistakes that could be pointed out in this email. Um, and a lot of those other mistakes are going to be discussed in the next couple of slides. We'll have some more. So always remember, if you need to ask for more time on an assignment or to correct an assignment, how would you write an email to make sure it's polite and convincing? Um, so always remember, if this ever happened and you wanted to write an email, you want to make sure it's polite and convincing. Start it off with just by good morning, good afternoon. So let's say your teacher's name, like good morning, Miss Pardon. So you would say, good morning, Miss Pardon. I have noticed that my grade is slowly dropping in your class. I was looking over our Unit 3 portfolio development. Um, TGA, and it has yet to be graded. Is there a way you could take a look at it? Just something like that. You want to make sure you're nice though. You don't want to come off too rude about it. And slowly throughout the slides, you'll see that there are some bad example emails about grading that I have put in here. But these slides are taking so long to load. Okay. Um, so here, um, so there are two options, right? So we have Dear Jane, how are you? I've been dead busy or extremely busy. So when writing an email, here our right answer would be I've been extremely busy. A lot of people don't really use the wording dead busy in an email. Since your last letter, we have to work really hard at school to get ready or in preparation for our SATs. So here the answer would be we have to work really hard at school and to get ready for our SATs. Despite this, I did manage to play a football game last night. It wouldn't be partake of a game of football last night. That really doesn't make sense, and it's very longer. It's more easier to just say play. My friends or acquaintances. Here it would be my friends. We won or were victorious. Here it would be we won. It was boss or it was outstanding. Our answer for that one would be it was outstanding. Boss is not an appropriate thing to say when you're emailing someone. Awesome, my dad got me or purchased for me would be my dad got me a new mobile telecommunication device or mobile phone. But here it would be my dad got me a new mobile phone. Anyway, gotta go or gotta cease writing. It would be gotta go. Speak to you soon. Please write back. Love from Mr. Joe Blogs or Joe. And here it would be Mr. Joe Blogs. So here this was the same question we viewed earlier. It was the one about paragraph 4. Some of these slides are double, which I do not know how that happened. So Um, here we have strategic thinking. So number one, when you read a messy email, what mistakes do you notice? How would you fix them to make the email better? Or two, if you had to email someone you don't know, like a boss or a coach, how would you make sure your message sounds professional? So you can choose to answer one of these on the mic or in chat. You can choose which one you'd want to answer, and then we'll go on.
I'd like to answer the second question.
Okay.
Так, if you had knowledge as a coach, how would you make sure your message sounds professional? Uh, Firstly, I think you don't need to write the letter as you're writing to your friend or your or a person you're familiar with. Yeah, you need to write as to a unknown person, so you need to use appropriate words, appropriate namings like Mr., Mrs. If you know if you don't know the name of the person, you should say Mr. or Madam or something like that. You don't need to shoot. You don't need to use the words which are like which you use more in your life, yeah, in just casual situations. You shouldn't use a slang because it can even trigger the person. No, because if you don't know the person, you don't know whether she demands an appropriate an appropriate style of writing to him or her or not. Yes. You don't need also to write about your deep personal details like which you need to write details about what you've done, what's going on, what you uh, couldn't do. You just need to construct it in not too long but not too short sequence or paragraph.
Yeah. So you always want to make sure that your email is professional, and that you do not come off in a rude way when writing the email. So good job. So here, last but not least, we have our sign off or closure. You want to make sure, like the greeting, the closure should get its own line, and your name will follow afterwards. After your name, you typically also include your title, although this is not necessary for students. Um, so in our next slide, we have some good examples and bad examples. So some good examples would be thank you, or Mr. Teacher, or language arts teacher. And then some bad examples would be by the end or no closure at all. Um, so here it says um how should he have ended this letter?
Uh, mm, 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 I think yours sincerely, maybe.
So that is actually a really good one. Yours sincerely. And I knew that you guys would get confused with this, but it
Yeah.
would actually be yours truly.
Ah.
So yours truly, J Blogs. However, yours sincerely is a good one too. That's a good one. But usually, they don't put the yours sincerely. They usually just say sincerely.
Uh-huh.
J Blogs. Like when I'm done writing an email, I usually put sincerely or best regards. I never really use yours truly. But some people find that more professional. But to me, I usually just put sincerely or best regards. But that is actually a really good one. So good job. You still did pretty good. Great job.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
Um, of course. So next, how should the word can't in line 1 be written of paragraph 4?
Uh, CAN um, apostrophe. I don't know how. I don't know the pronunciation of this sign in English. Let me translate. Apostrophe. Apostrophe. Yes. Uh, and T. It's the correct spelling of
Yeah,
this
so
word.
that one would be the correct way to do it. The way they did it was CANNT. No comma, nothing. Like that's just how they did it. Um, so yeah, good job.
Mm-hmm. What stuff do you? I need to answer also one of them or them both.
Yeah, you have a question?
Mm-hmm.
Sure, what's your
Uh,
question?
um, I mean, I need to answer only one of them or both.
Oh, on this one,
Yes.
I'm so sorry. This one is one we already did.
Ah. Mhm.
Yes, it was the one we did earlier. Some of these slides they were double, and this was something I had to create a recording for my individual student yesterday because
Uh-huh.
they weren't going to be able to be here, and I had accidentally like there was double slides, and it was something I
Mm-hmm.
had noticed. So here we have our power of tone. So, you don't have to do this. I just thought it'd be cool. But you can open your phone and you could choose a message you received lately that made you smile or cry or angry. You do not need to share this message. Um, and then you could just type the word that describes the tone of the message that made you smile.
Mm-hmm. I can try to search for. such a message. Ah, yes, that word. Coffee. One of us. Uh, yes, I recall that I had a message from my colleague from the work, uh, who was talking about going to bar. So I think his message was like an invitation to an adventure. So it was encouraging.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So great job on that one. That's actually really good though that it was encouraging. Rather than a sad or an angry one. So we'll go on to our next slide. These slides are really taking long. Um, so here I want you to look. Actually, hold on. Wait a minute. What tone would not be appropriate for a professional email? Yeah.
Would be appropriate.
This one.
Like should not be appropriate. Like cynical
Yeah. So
or
here,
comic.
so a tone here in these words that would not be appropriate for a professional email would be angry. Um, like we discussed in the other slides, you want to make sure your email does not come off angry.
Mhm.
Um, and then I think on next one we have a word that what tone would be appropriate for professional email. So some tones that would be a professional for a would be appropriate for a professional email would be like joyful, loving,
Mhm.
playful,
Formal
yeah, formal, um,
also.
cheerful. These are perfect ones. A lot of these, a
Mhm.
majority of these words here, forgiving, um, gentle. A lot of these words on this slide would be perfect for an appropriate professional email. On the other side, there were not so many in that would not be appropriate. There were more appropriate words. I should have probably included some more that wouldn't have been appropriate. But here, so what do you think is the problem? So we have our two and then our subject. It says, I was gone yesterday and I don't understand the assignment. My friends won't let me copy and the internet was down at home. So what do you think the problem is with this email?
Um, as I remember, the email has an addressant, the person who you send the mail to, the subject, and that's like a topic, and that message, yes, and the body of a mail. So I think. Firstly, maybe this man who woman who was writing this email should put this text into the body of mail, but not in subject because it's too long for a subject. It's like first impression.
Yeah, so here they type their whole entire email in the subject, which is what you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to type it in the topic area. They typed it in the whole subject. But also, there was another mistake, and that mistake
Mm-hmm.
was the
I can.
I's were not capitalized. The
Yes,
I's were all lowercase. And usually the
that's
letter I is always supposed to be capitalized.
That's a curse of modern chatting between people because people became too lazy to write proper names, to add some punctuation signs, and also to write capital letters.
Yeah, there's like no capital letters at all, even after the period, where it says I was gone and I don't understand the assignment. Then they also, my friends won't let me copy, and the internet was down at home. They basically um, confessed to cheating, trying to find some answers online and trying to copy off their friends. The I's are not capitalized. The M is not capitalized after the period. There's no greeting. There is no closing. So they did really poorly on this email.
Mhm.
Now I believe our next slide is a good email. No, we have another. What's the problem? So we have our two. We have our subject, which was absent yesterday, and they said, "Bruh, what did I miss yesterday? I won't be there the rest of this week. Give it to my cousin, Jay Z, the man."
Okay, what's the problem? Jan, absolutely sorry, bro. What did I miss? Yes, I won't be able to. Uh, bro, yes, bro, what did I miss yesterday? Mm, it also misses some capital letters, like the in the start of the letter, eyes, one eye, and after the second sentence, the give word should also be started with the capital G. Uh,
Yeah, so some
maybe
capital
I don't know.
letters.
Maybe the last subscript Jay Z the man. That's I don't know the meaning of this. I don't know why this person wrote this. It's also quite strange.
Yeah, so Jay Z the man is not an appropriate closing. There are missing capitalized letters. There is a missing greeting. And then they started their email off with, "Bro, what did I miss yesterday? I won't be there the rest of this week. Give it to my cousin." This is a very informal email.
Yeah. I thought no, yeah, my first impression that maybe some drunk person wrote it, because of this manner of clothing and the slang and uh, some other problems.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look
Oh,
like a
mistakes.
drunk person would have written it. So here we have a perfect email. So they have who they're sending it to. They had their subject absent yesterday with question. They started off with a perfect greeting. Hi, Miss Young. They have their whole topic. I had a dentist appointment yesterday and missed your class. I found our agenda and assignment on Google Classroom. I have a question about number two. Can I stop by at lunch to talk about it? And then they have their closing. Thank you. John
Mhm.
Smith, third hour. So this is what a perfect email looks like. When teachers usually get that kind of email, they're like over the top excited because their students nowadays rarely submit those emails. So was another um second one. Okay, so here we go. So you want to put it all together. So this would be a bad example. So to
Mhm.
Mr. Teacher, there was no subject, and they just said, "Hey, why do I have an F? I turned in all my assignments and you didn't grade them. I need my math grade to go up so my parents will stop grounding me. Bye." So there was no subject. This email comes off very disrespectful, and it's just like, if a teacher is reading this, they basically feel targeted by that student. And then their closing was just by they did not put their name. So one, how is the teacher supposed to know who this email is from so they could fix that grade? Because they didn't give a name, the teachers have 1,000 different students in class. So this would be a bad example. But a good example would be to Mrs. Teacher. Um, Sorry, I got cut out there for a second. They have their
Mhm.
subject question about math grade. They started off with a perfect greeting, perfect topic. I'm doing a grade check in my seventh period, and I noticed that I have an F in your class. What can I do to improve my grade? Please let me know if I can come in for math help or any other way I can improve. Thank you, Mr. Teacher. So perfect greeting, perfect subject, perfect topic, and a perfect conclusion. And so then here we have a prompt. Here's an email. Subject, can you help me? Hey, I need your help on my project. Can you meet today? Thanks, Alex. So what three changes do you think could improve this email for a professional audience?
Mhm. Um, you need you need to remove or the slang or the short forms of words like just letter u instead of the word you thanks like thx instead of thanks and so on, make it more formal, like you're writing to an unfamiliar person.
Yeah, so here they used a lot of slang and abbreviations in you, today, and thanks. So those three need to be changed. Other than that, it's a pretty good
Mhm.
email. Um,
That's the first change. The second one is uh, you need to change. I think the subject, the and the body, because it's like too. It's too direct response. The person is just writing what it wants from the other person, and it's can be a bit uncomfortable and I don't know. It's quite. It could be quite strange if you write in such letter to unfamiliar person.
yeah, good job. So
Yes.
those would be the three. You want to change the subject. Can
Mhm,
you help me? Is not a perfect subject. Not only
mhm,
that, they did use an abbreviation there. Hey is not an I would say personally, I would say hey is not a formal greeting. I
mhm.
feel like hey is more for a friend or something, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to an email that you're sending that you want to make sure it's professional.
Mhm.
You want to start off with a great professional greeting
Yes.
and then all the abbreviations in the topic of the whole email. But other than that, they just need to fix those and it would be a formal meeting. So we're gonna skip this only because there are no highlighter tools. I thought there were, but there's not. So that's one that we're gonna skip. Um, and so next we just have our wrap up.
Mhm.
So I know the slides are taking like forever to go to the next slide. Um, okay, there we go. So which one do you think is correct? I want a dog, I wanted a dog, or me want a dog?
The first one is correct. It's like a present tense. Yes.
The first one. All right, so let's take a look. So you were right. The first one would be correct. Great job. And so next, of course, as always, do you have any questions?
No, I don't have any.
Alrighty. Well, then that concludes our meeting for professional correspondence. I know today's
Mhm,
was probably a little bit boring. It wasn't as active and fun as the others. But
mhm,
next week we're gonna go ahead and discuss romantic poetry.
mhm.
And our next meeting will be on Friday, February 14th.
Yeah.
So if you have no questions, then you are free to go. Thank you for coming. And I hope you
Okay.
have a great night and weekend. I'm sorry that this
Mhm.
meeting wasn't as, it wasn't as active as the others, and there wasn't really so much to talk about, not too many
Yeah.
interesting things.
But it's also quite serious and quite useful because when you, for example, when you're applying for a job or and you're writing, for example, then I was applying for my job. I was writing directly to the CEO of this company, and my first mistake was that I wrote the letter too informal. I just instead of writing like to Mister or Miss, I was writing to my not the friend but the person I knew. Yeah, and this man, he was he didn't like that. He uh, immediately showed that it was inappropriate way of starting the conversation. Yes, so he corrected me, and I continued to talk to him in a right way. So it's quite useful.
Oh, well, I'm glad that it was able to help you out in a way and was useful to you. So I'm glad.
Hmm. Okay, so have a nice weekend.
You
Okay,
too.
see you in the next week. Yes,
See you next week.
goodbye.
Bye.